From Prehistoric to Present, welcome to CreatureGuide Live Sunday night. We're going to get into some fun animal articles. So let's get started. From English.radio.cz, large brown bear spotted on outskirts of Czech City. Well, this is interesting considering brown bears are extremely rare over in Czech. So let's take a look. A brown bear weighing as much as 200 kilograms, so that's pushing somewhere around 420, 430 pounds, has been spotted on the outskirts of the Moravian city of Zlin. The authorities say the animal could be passing through the area, but have warned locals to exercise caution. The brown bear, Europe's largest predator, was okay, let's. Oh. Since the early 1970s, there have been occasional bear sightings in the Beskid Mountains in the very east of the country. Um, Yeah, there's not really a breeding population of brown bears at the moment in Czech. There's a handful over in southeastern Poland. And then once you get even into northern Slovakia, in certain regions, there's a handful of individuals. But there might be somewhere between 5 to 10 at most within Czech.
Wait, you're saying 5 to 10 brown bears?
That's it.
So
Um,
they don't live there?
Not really. There isn't a breeding population, at least at the moment. However, the animal, which never disappeared in the nearby Slovakia, tends to remain in deep forest, well away from human settlements. There is a national park in the northern, well, I think there's a couple, as well as correlating with that area of southern Poland where there's a breeding population of brown bears. So, northern Slovakia, southern Poland. At the end of last week, however, a brown bear was spotted in the outskirts of the southern Moravian city of Zlin. Let's take a look. Michael Voda is from Huniti Dua, the Czech branch of the environmental organization Friends of the Earth, which keeps track of bear movements. This year, it is the first occurrence of a bear in the Zlin region. Most years, a bear crosses the ridges of the Vizovis Highlands. It sometimes happens that people come across it. Sometimes we just have information from a camera trap. Usually it comes and then returns to the Slovak mountains. This time, the bear was spotted by a jogger in the woods between Kudlov, Pindula, and Zelikovic Nadrvniki, which are on the outskirts of Zlin,
What did you just say?
something Slavic. Police spokesperson Pavel Hanik said on Sunday that prints discovered by a hunter provided some sense of the size of the animal. This is interesting. I really thought that this was some incident that happened in like a small town or maybe a larger town, some city. Though I think it's referred to as a village over there. Let's see. The presence of the bear was also confirmed by paw prints. Oh, wait a second. Um, yeah, which were found near the spot where it was seen. Going by the size of the prints, we believe it could weigh 200 kilograms to around 420, 430 pounds. Officer Hanik said this was the first time a bear had been reported in or around the city of Zlin in recent memory. So let's see. The local authorities said they did not wish to alarm the public and have sent a mass email to residents. Ivo is the mayor of the district of Zelevokovic Nad. He informed the hunters in the district to keep an eye on whether there is any movement. We don't wish to bring in any other measures in order not to scare people unnecessarily. We believe that the bear may be only passing through our territory. Yeah, there's also only like a handful, or at least it's a low population of brown bears, even in the adjacent country of Hungary. People walking in the area have been urged to exercise caution and make sure they are carrying a charged mobile phone, while dog owners have been told to keep their pets on a leash. I'm guessing they want everybody's phone charged so they can call an ambulance if they get attacked, or they can just call in, like, listen, the bears on Fifth Avenue. Anyway, bears in nearby Slovakia have made international headlines this year. An attack in the town of Liptovsvaki Mikulas in March left two people in a hospital. In the hospital, edit people. The same month, one person died after falling. Oh, them- oh, he died. That's sorry. I thought he tripped. Then. He just kind of got bruised a little bit. That's really unfortunate. Sorry. While being pursued by a bear in the low Tatras. Yeah, there's brown bears in that area. Be careful. Um, well, let's head to the next one. I'm sorry, he tripped. All I can think of is uh, that's
What?
it makes you want to stay in shape. Like I just got a feeling the person had too much weight on the front end, just toppled over, and the bear just went, "Ooh, check club sandwich." Anyway, let's keep going. From the saltwater.com Telegram, time for a bear by Verte Peninsula town gets midday visit from a polar bear. Okay. Oh, it's in no, it's just in light wording. I'm reading it right here. Fortunately, the folks of Ming's Bite knew of their dangerous visitor in time to ensure everyone's safety when a polar bear visited the town on the afternoon of April 8th, 2025. Interesting. So this is in the technically early spring when this is occurring. So, what's somebody from Scotland over here? Well, definitely not you. So, this is
Why does that look like someone in a costume?
yeah, it does. This is a screenshot from video taken by Amy Fudge. It's like a name you would name
That
like
the polar bear would be eating?
yeah. I don't know how they react to chocolate, but anyway, of a polar bear as it strolls through the town of Ming's Bite on the Bai Verte Peninsula on Tuesday, April 8th, 2025. When Amy Fudge heard the sounds of a
I'm sorry
helicopter
that
in the middle of the afternoon, she assumed it had something to do with the town of Ming's Bite scoping out a nearby area where a new waterline project is planned. She peered out the glass storefront of Ocean View Grocery, the business she owns in town, around 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday, April 8th, and saw some children playing on a street nearby with their parents keeping a watchful eye. When the chopper came in lower near the children, she thought the pilot was maybe just giving the excited kids a thrill. She whipped out her cell phone and began recording a video because she had never seen a chopper flying so low in the middle of town. She soon realized the helicopter's crew was trying to warn the kids and parents of serious danger lurking nearby. Where's there it is. Fudge looked in the opposite direction of the helicopter and saw a large polar bear wandering down the seaside street in front of her store. The kids thought the person in the helicopter was waving to them. Yeah, I mean, I think many would be confused too.
So were the kids named, like, Taffy?
Oh yeah, good point. Probably. But he was trying to point behind him and trying to get their attention to get them to go. Um, let's see. Let's keep going.
I
Uh,
can't believe you could read this. I can barely see it.
yeah, it is challenging. Okay, the people outside soon realized the danger and began moving away from the direction the bear was coming. Fudge alone was alone in the store at the time. Once she saw those outside, um, had moved off to a safer location, she began to worry for her own safety. I thought, "Oh my god, what if he comes in the store?" I was amazed to see it, but yet so scared. She wondered if it would be any use to lock the doors. I thought that wouldn't make any sense because the door pulls open. It's a glass door anyway. One paw on that door and that shatters. Her next thoughts were of the school bus that services the region, which was due to arrive in town at any minute. Okay. It did arrive on time, and the bear walked right by the bus before it went down to the beach, crossed a small brook, then went back up on the road. Fudge said the children were not allowed off the bus until it was deemed safe to do so. Oh, well, there's another picture. I mean, for April 8th, I guess this isn't surprising. This isn't really it's not a bad condition, especially if this is possibly a female polar bear. It's a bit challenging to tell. It still has upwards of 3 months where it's going to be hunting the seals. Like seal season, prime seal season has just begun, and it's technically in good condition.
So should somebody be eaten because their name is Fudge?
Um, yeah, I don't know how to answer that. The bear was heading south when Fudge said it seemed to come across a truck that compelled it to turn back towards the main part of town. Seriously? However, the bear did not come all the way back in town. Instead, it meandered up a hill and disappeared back into the woods. So I forgot. Is this like possibly Newfoundland? There is forest in the region. It's one of those few areas where polar bears can literally disappear into a forest. So
I'm sorry, I'm just lost with Fudge.
I
I just can't get past it.
just assumed they had tranquilized the bear because when the bear went up in the woods, the chopper left. Everybody was still scared. Where did this bear go? I thought they must have tranquilized him or were gone to get help, but apparently it wasn't the case. Okay. On April 8th, the Department of Fisheries, Forestry, and Agriculture issued a warning about a polar bear sighting around 2 kilometers outside of Coachman's Cove, which is near Ming's Bight. So I think it's around a mile. Maybe a little more. Social media posts by the department noted that monitoring of the animal's movements on the Baia Verte Peninsula and tracks had indicated there was just one polar bear in the area. On Wednesday evening, the department confirmed that the bear on the Baia Verte Peninsula had been safely captured and was being transported north for release near sea ice. It was quite the experience for the folks of Ming's Bight, and the bear's visit was timed perfectly, so everyone was kept out of its way. I was quite surprised that the bear was so calm, considering there was a chopper hovering over it and was quite low, and there was rocks and dust flying everywhere. Said Fudge, whose husband had just snowmobiled down the same area the bear was on about half an hour before the bear arrived. Bear just strode right through town like he owned the place. I figured with all that commotion, it would frighten him and he'd be aggressive. The Department of Fisheries, Forestry, and Agriculture noted that polar bear sightings are not uncommon this time of year along the northeast coast of the island of Newfoundland, the northern peninsula near coastal communities of Labrador, as animals search for food. In fact, a polar bear was also recently reported passing through the Loncy en Loup, Loncy en Claire area of southern Labrador. I wonder if that was that other sighting that occurred. Anytime a polar bear is reported, people should avoid it. Um, yeah, the helicopter did a great job with that.
Well, unless you're a tourist, then try to take a selfie with it.
Um, yeah, unfortunately, I'm not sure if they'll make that. Anyway, let's see. Anything else? Um, yeah, if a bear has seen or smelled you, remain calm and give it space and a route to get away. If it's a polar bear, you need to just leave the country. It's coming for you. The brown bear, it's kind of like debatable. If he's got a problem, then do the same. And then after you've taken a bath, you can come back. Anyway, uh, that was interesting. Um, let's head on to the next article. See where
I'm
this.
still trying to get past let the polar bear get away.
Um, do you mean like wait, what specifically?
That's what they said at the end of it. Give it room so the polar bear
Oh
can
yeah,
get away,
yeah.
and it's like, "What?
It'll just keep coming. Anyway, okay,
You're
so
a tasty morsel."
yeah, definitely. Um, so from the Namibian.com.na. So we have transported to Africa in 20 million or Namibian dollars, 20 million deal. 40 white rhinos from Namibia exported to the US. Wow. Okay. Well, let's see what's going on here. The 40 white rhinos that were transported from Namibia to the United States yesterday are valued at 20 million yen. Um, I kind of,
You
I,
want me to look it up?
uh, you can. I don't remember exactly how much a white rhino is worth here. It's quite a bit. Ministry of Environment, Forestry, and Tourism spokesperson Romeo Muyanda says the private owner of the rhinos was issued with an export permit. The owner was also given Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora permits, granting him permission to sell the rhinos in the US. So I'm guessing that they're not going to be. I don't think it's legal to eat the rhinos. Um, but I'm guessing they're going to be going into different conservation programs.
One Namibian dollar is worth 0.06 cents. I mean, sorry, it's worth 6 cents.
Hmm. We issued them with two permits. One is the sites, which requires that the person gets permission from the importing and exporting country. The sites permit ensures that international trade of wild animals does not threaten the survival of the species. Though the owner applied for 42 rhinos, only 40 were caught. There's a lot of work that goes into capturing those rhinos, also making sure they're not overstressed, health checkups before, probably also during the moved to the United States, so I don't know exactly how that, or at least hasn't explained how that movement works. And then where are they all specifically going? Are they going to different places? Are they going to the same ranch? Um,
So it's saying the value of it's about $60,000.
or like each individual?
Yeah,
Possibly. Mayunda says each rhino in Namibia is valued at 500,000 just Namibian dollars. He further says some rhinos are bought from from private farms in South Africa, where the ministry has no jurisdiction.
$30,000.
Oh. There are somewhere between 1,500 to 1,600 white rhinos within the country of Namibia, which is just northwest of South Africa and west of Botswana. South Africa is the largest white rhino population in Africa, hosting somewhere around 13 to 14,000 individuals. See, so they buy them from private people from South Africa, so they are free to utilize them in accordance with the law. Moyunda says the ministry is satisfied with the reasons obtained from the proponents when applying for the tenancy. This is why we have approved the tenancy. They are privately owned animals. They are on a private estate, and the person decided to sell the rhinos. Okay, so Namibia Environmental Education Network coordinator Lina Natinda says claims of the private ownership of wildlife are fundamentally flawed. Wildlife animals are sentient beings with. What? I don't care about this. Just let's get to the main thing. Okay, here we go. Mayunda says the rhinos were due to be airlifted from the Hosea Kotako International Airport yesterday to be transported to Texas. It was actually, I remember way back. I remember, I think it was like 2017 or 2018. There were, there was discussion about bringing white rhinos to Texas to help with poaching incidents. So I wonder if this is part of that.
Do you know where they were supposed to be releasing them?
Somewhere in South Texas, I think.
I mean, like, open ranged?
Yeah. The owner was provided with an export license, and the transaction followed the proper ministerial frameworks. According to Save the Rhino Trust spokesperson Simpson Yuri Kobe, certain permits are needed to sell or trade in rhinos. It's also probably these private rhino, I guess, ranchers are the ones that are keeping these animals alive for the most part. It's not like the handful of public protected areas that these white rhinos are situated in.
Is it mostly Asians that buy them for their horns?
Um, y- I it's a mixture of yeah, it is mostly, especially selling them to Asia. So yeah, where it occurs. He highlights that farmers are only allowed to sell white rhinos, as all black rhinos belong to the government. What? Okay, I didn't know that. I believe Namibia has somewhere around 1,300 to 1,600 black rhinos within the country, and I think somewhere around 24 to 25,000 elephants. There are also many are quite concentrated within Etosha National Park over in northern Namibia.
I know I'm being redundant, but I forgot, what's the difference between a white and a black rhino?
So white rhinos are larger, and also white rhinos tend to have a much flatter sort of lip structure. It is a flat, lip structure, whereas, black rhinos tend to have a bit of a curved, hooked sort of lip structure, and so white or black rhinos are browsers, so they're feeding on different species of shrubs or bushes, within different parts of, um, Central and Southern Africa and as well as even young acacia trees, whereas white rhinos, for the most part, tend to focus mainly on grasses. They also have a bit of a different, a much different tooth structure. That's also what plays a major role into them feeding on different species of plants. Occasionally, you might have it where white rhinos will be feeding on certain species of shrubs, but it's rare. They're mostly focusing on different species of grasses. Certain areas are feeding on over 20 species of grasses in different regions. So also, black rhinos can be a bit more aggressive, but when they come into contact with a white rhino, it doesn't usually end well with them, even if the white rhino doesn't have a very large horn, and he just, um, throws him around, like the white rhino throwing the black rhino around. In total, I don't know if they had a recent estimate as to how many black rhinos there are in Africa, but it's pretty low, somewhere around 6,000 to 7,000 individuals, about the same population as there are cheetahs. Okay, they can sell them because it's their property, but there are permits that should be in place to do that. It's weird. Anyway, let's see. Uri Cope, however, says he does not believe. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else here? Oh, that's interesting. Something about he made reference to the South African farmer John Williams, who couldn't afford to run his farm with the 2,000 rhinos he had. He sold the whole farm with the rhinos to African parks, and African parks didn't send them anywhere else except for Tanzania and Kenya. That's interesting. White rhinos are not native to Tanzania or Kenya. They're only native to very southern Africa. So different parts of Mozambique, I believe Zambia, as well as Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa, possibly into southern Angola, but not much further than that region. Outside of that, I mean, they can feed on different species of grasses, but they're not native to the region. The black rhino is a much larger home range. So, let's see, anything else? Okay. Um, that was interesting to hear. So they were sent to Texas. Oh, we know. Okay, let's head over to the next article. So from eurekalert.org, human pressure most affecting Atlantic rainforest deer density. The most robust estimate ever made in the biome shows that hunting, predation by domestic dogs, livestock diseases, and competition with wild boars are among the main anthropogenic influences. Interesting. So there's actually quite a few different species of deer within South America. When many hear of South America, they tend to think of when it comes to herbivores, mostly capybara. And yes, they're very important to South America, but you also have different species of brocket deer, such as the Amazonian brocket deer, the red brocket deer. These animals range from around 100 to 130 pounds, or pushing somewhere between like 50 and 60 kilograms. And then you also have the marsh deer, and there's another species of deer further south. There's also the pampas deer. There's another species that's not hitting me. Anyway, let's take a look. Oh, there's also whitetails, further north within South America. Smaller than over in North America or even Mexico is part of North America. Let's see. A group of Brazilian researchers has, for the first time in the entire Atlantic rainforest, estimated the population density of the five deer species of the biome. This allowed them to measure the main factors that influence the number of deer per square kilometer in forest areas. The results suggest a strong relationship between the low animal densities and human pressures such as hunting, predation by domestic dogs, livestock-borne diseases, and competition with wild boar, and invasive species that consumes the same resources as deer. I tend to forget when it comes to South America that they have a wild boar feral pig problem. It's like you leave North America, Australia, and you forget that they're actually wreaking havoc within Central America as well as South America as well. And yes, boar will hunt, actively hunt deer. So, and also Brazil has a massive feral hog problem too. You tend to only imagine, like, certain urban areas, and no, they're hunting in the rainforest or marshes. So let's see. Okay, so the cattle dove oh, the cattle dove deer, I'm not too familiar with this individual. There's another really small species of deer native to South America, like the tobo. It's, like, somewhere between 20 to 30 pounds. It's very small, like, 10 to 15 kilograms.
Is that like the what's that, oh, you did a video on it before. That really small
Antelope?
yeah,
I was going over, what were they? Trying to remember. There's several
the one
different
with the
species.
fangs. The one has
Oh, the musk deer.
yeah, that's
Yeah, but that's another, that's actually not a deer, despite it being called a deer, but, um,
how large was that, though?
there's also the dwarf musk deer over in China, I think, or Vietnam. Might have been northern Vietnam. It was pretty small as well. I think somewhere between 30 to 50 pounds, somewhere between 15 to 25 kilograms. Okay, so let's take a look here. Deer that live in forests are the most difficult to spot and therefore to assess their population density. This is an essential metric for conservation and one that we've only just managed to obtain after more than a decade of effort. Oliveira carried out part of the study during his postdoctoral research. So this guy is a professor at the University of Arakawa. Did they name it after the bird? Anyway, which he conducted with a scholarship from FAPES at the Deer Research and Conservation Center of Sao Paulo State University in Haubatu. The estimates are based on samples collected at 31 points in 21 conservation units representing the Atlantic rainforest, from the northeast to the south of Brazil. The deer feces were located by specially trained dogs. Researchers then used fecal DNA analysis to identify the species. Yeah, that probably helps a lot, using trained dogs to home in on the, deer scat.
Except for then you end up with these dogs bringing you home poop from everybody.
Yeah, but that's definitely going to help with getting in, the DNA from different specific deer. What are they feeding on? Um, how well are they digesting the vegetation? It's a big question, or it's good data. The density estimation method developed by the group and previously used in other studies also includes statistics that take into account the defecation rate of each species. Hmm. So this probably helps with seed dispersal as well as fertilizing the ground, but yeah, how much are they defecating in a certain area? And this is good to know. It's like this is something that's questioned, like the different species of prehistoric mammals as well as even dinosaurs. How much the foreign ceratopsians, defecate in a certain area. Of course, it would vary by species. You have those 30-pound individuals or 12-kilogram animals too, animals that weigh over 8 tons, and, um, they could be depositing a lot. But let's see. Now, you would still have, like, different species of insects, even smaller species of dinosaurs or the mammals at the time, and they take advantage, the wooden pterosaurs, and they would feed on the dung. But anyway, let's get back
Sounds like a big pile of crap to me.
yeah, skip back. Let's see. Due to the robustness of the data, they were included as indicators in the National Action Plan for the Conservation of Ungulates, so two-toed animals. A public policy of the Brazilian Ministry of the Environment and Climate Change for this group of animals. That's funny. Nicknamed MMA? For what? You have, I'm concerned. Now you have probably jaguars that go in as, like, a certain task force. They're probably used to hunt the deer. Anyway, in the now published
So
study.
they're sticking these animals in a ring.
Yeah, I guess, they're going back to their older ways. Let's see. In the now published study, the researchers also recorded environmental data such as vegetation type, altitude, and slope. Finally, a survey was conducted at each site to identify human threats, which were assigned an index of 0, 1, or 2, with 0 representing total absence and 2 representing high prevalence. Although the direct relationship between deer population density and threats was expected, it's never been demonstrated as robustly as we have now. The work, therefore, provides a strong body of evidence to support the management of protected areas and the conservation of the species. So here's the situation. The lowest density found was 0.14 individuals per square kilometer for roe deer. Oh, yeah, these individuals. That's not good. That is low in the Araucarias National Park in the state of Santa Catarina. The highest was found in the Suratama Biological Reserve in the state of Espirito Santo with 18.17 red deer per square kilometer. Um, this is good to hear, but red deer, unless this might be referring to the red, Brauchit red deer, I believe, or Brauchit. The case of red deer was an exception. In the sampled areas, the average densities ranged from 1.47 to 3.42 individuals per square kilometer. Um, yeah, it's definitely not great. Anthropogenic influence, okay, resulting from human activity had the greatest effect on deer density, outweighing natural factors such as altitude, slope, and latitude. Wonder if it has to do with development. Maybe, probably what it is habitat that hasn't been well.
It always sounds like though they're blaming people for everything.
Yeah, but I would say though, in certain areas, especially when you're talking about deer habitat and what goes on in different areas of North America, I'm not necessarily surprised that if it mainly has to do with just habitat degradation, meaning there's only a handful of species that are being grown in the area that these deer are inhabiting. This is also outside of that reserve, so most likely they did some. I'm guessing they did a lot of ecological restoration and that helped spread the native species that the deer are feeding on, and these other areas not so much. So, but yeah, they tend to attack people a lot. In addition to correlating with environmental monitoring and rates of plant exploitation at the site studied, the presence of hunters, domestic dogs, which can prey on deer, cattle, which can transmit diseases, and wild boars, which can compete for resources and can also transmit diseases, were also verified. In one case, however, human presence favored the animals. The number of park rangers, okay, yeah, I mean, that can help, but I was expecting people that were coming over and getting rid of invasive species, and I'm including both plants, animals, we throw fungi into it, so, you should include them too. The density of professionals working in the conservation units influence the density of deer. More park rangers, the more deer could be detected in an area. Another study by the group had already shown the importance of protected areas for deer. At that time, the researchers pointed out that protecting just 2% more of the Atlantic rainforest would bring benefits for the conservation of at least three deer species. The work now published provides a parameter of the current situation of cervids, so referring to the deer family, in the Atlantic rainforest. The ideal would be to repeat these estimates every 5 or 10 years and see where it has stayed the same, where it has increased, where it has decreased. In this way, conservation can be guided by evidence. So let's see, is there anything else? Okay. This is good to hear about this recent um, estimate of the deer within the area in these few areas of Brazil. So before we head on to the next one, alrighty. So from mongabay.com, let's see who we have here. Tree kangaroo, relative of the Mashu's tree kangaroo. Okay, so let's head down. Tree kangaroos inhabiting a forested mountain range in Papua New Guinea have made an unlikely comeback in the past 40 years, but old dangers now jeopardize that rebound. Three species of the Dendrogalus genus arboreal marsupials about twice the size of a house cat. Yeah, I think, Garfield would like a word, but, certain species of tree kangaroo can reach over 30 pounds. You have, individuals like the, um, Tor Tic is it the Turkeli kangaroo, the Mashu's tree kangaroo. These are all herbivores, and there are around 10 to I mean, sorry, around 12 to 14 different species of tree kangaroo within Papua New Guinea. Also in Western Papua, there's around 8 different species.
You just say Western Papa
Papua,
Papua?
um,
Oh,
okay. So, anyway, hunt the Okay, there are a couple of different species of tree kangaroo that look like something, from, like, horror myths, and in reality, these are just harmless, darker pigmented tree um, which can look kind of creepy. Anyway, haunt the leafy tropical canopy of the Torricelli Mountains, which top out at 1,650 meters or 5,410 feet. So this is towards northern, um, north central New Guinea, or if you look at the whole island as a whole, it's towards the northern part of the area. Two of them remain critically endangered according to the IUCN, but populations of all three species have leaped and their known ranges expanded. I didn't know that we even had an estimate for how many tree kangaroos there were. It's, certain research, especially in Papua New Guinea, it's very limited. Over the past 2 decades, the investments in conservation and the development of human communities appear to have held off the twin threats of logging and hunting that had pushed the Torricelli tree kangaroos to the edge of extinction. I wonder if this specific mate is a Torricelli tree kangaroo. There are also the tree kangaroos over in northeastern Australia, being the Bennet's kangaroo and the Lumholtz tree kangaroo. They're a bit duller in color, slightly smaller than certain species over in Papua New Guinea. But they also have a much smaller home range. In spite of this success, threats to the forest, vital to tree kangaroos, and a host of other species have resurfaced. Okay, let's keep going to the tree kangaroo. So this is the habitat that it inhabits. And yes, they're quite arboreal, so they're mostly hanging out in the trees. They also have the ability to move each leg independently outside, or unlike the ground-dwelling kangaroos, wallabies of Australia. So let's see. Mm, let's see, anything else? Just trying to find a little more on the kangaroo itself. Oh, oh, here's a bit of the map. So this is specifically what I was referring to when it comes to the Torricelli mountain range. Okay. Um, okay. When Flannery was surveying the forests of northwestern Papua New Guinea in the 1980s and 1990s, he was stunned to come across evidence of not one but two species of tree kangaroo new to Western scientists. The third species, the grizzled or Finch's tree kangaroo, Dendrogalus inustus funski, was already known to inhabit the area. The tenkyle, as I was referring to also earlier, or Scots tree kangaroo, and the Wemang, or Dendrogalus fulcaramus, are cousins to Australia's land-bound marsupials, and they're shy and retiring in all aspects save for the cuteness quotient. Huh? Okay, the Wemenge. Anyway, let's see. Logging and hunting levied pressures on the animal's populations, and Flannery estimated that no more than 100 tenkiles survived at the time of his survey, clinging to the dwindling forest in this part of Papua New Guinea. Um, so let's see. So I guess protecting the Torricelli tree kangaroo. Okay, this is one of the species I was referring to. As far as a darker species, it doesn't even have this beige of a look towards the face or the upper arm, around the lower thigh in this individual. So, okay, Weming and the Tenkyle. So both are leaf eaters. So they're feeding on different species of tree within Papua New Guinea. And also, like this is aside from the eucalyptus trees that koalas down in Australia are feeding on. So, let's see. Anything else? Oh, well, here's okay. Here's another individual. He seems to be resting. Um, trying to think. Specific relative of the Mashu's tree.
I think he's looking who he's gonna poo on, he's targeting.
I think he's just resting. Um, okay. Alright, well, um, I don't know if we got a whole lot of information on that. Doesn't seem that way, but let's just head on to the next article. So from lifescience.com, prehistoric mummified bear discovered in Siberian permafrost isn't what we thought. The bear unearthed in 2020 was originally assumed to be an extinct cave bear that dated back at least 22,000 years. But a new necropsy reveals it is actually a brown bear that lived 3,500 years ago. So this was during the Bronze Age, and they found a brown bear. That's interesting. I thought it was a Pleistocene, and I wonder how they mixed that much time. I mean, interesting. Interesting thing is this bear practically perished. So this individual right here, wow, he's very well preserved. Um, he died at around the same time that the last woolly mammoths disappeared over on St. Paul's Island of Alaska. That's quite interesting. A perfectly preserved mummified bear found entombed in the Siberian permafrost in 2020 isn't what scientists thought it was. A new analysis reveals it turns out that the eerily intact carcass is much younger than first assumed and belongs to entirely different species. Reindeer herders unearthed the remains, which include the bear's intact skin, fur, teeth, nose, claws, body fat, and internal organs on Bolshoy Island, a remote Russian island located in the eastern Siberian Sea. Researchers named it the Etherican bear after the nearby Bolshoy Etherican River. When the Etherican bear was first uncovered, researchers at the Lazarev Mammoth Museum Laboratory at Northeastern Federal University in Yakutsk, who have led the analysis of the remains, thought that the mummy was an extinct cave bear, Ursus bialis. Fossils of this long-lost species suggest the enormous ancient bears, which are closely related to brown bears, Ursus arctos, and polar bears, Ursus maritimus, grew to around 11.5 feet tall and weighed a whopping 3,300 pounds. Whoa, okay. Cave bears didn't reach that weight. Cave bears were probably about the size of a big Kodiak, so pushing somewhere between 1,600 to 1,800 pounds, or a little over 800 kilograms, but not 3,300 pounds. That's pushing it for even Arctotherium or a huge, like Ursus maritimus tyrannus, which is basically like the Ice Age polar bear. So it's only based off like a specific ulna leg bone, but it's much larger than any polar bear today.
So where are they getting the weight from?
I It's probably from some overestimate of a certain bear, that they saw, or somebody posted somewhere that cave bears could reach, over, what, 3/4 of a ton? So, I mean, 3/4 of, no, half of, yeah, 1/2. Anyway, let's see. Ursus went extinct around 22,000 years ago, toward the end of the last glacial maximum, coldest part of the last ice age, so the researchers believe that the mummy was at least this old. However, subsequent analysis revealed that their assumptions about the Etherican bear were way off. In reality, the beast was a brown bear that dated to around 33,460 years ago. Wow, yes, this is right when the mammoths went extinct. The food team said in a statement in December 2022.
How did they get it to the 60 years?
Um, the closer, especially in recent time, that, you come, you can get pretty close to that approximate date. Um, it's just when it comes, especially as you get to the Pleistocene, it's really hard to get an approximate situation, so it just tends to be 11,000 years ago or, 40,000, but nothing specific. The Nefu team recently conducted a full necropsy or animal autopsy on the Etherican bear, which has revealed even more about the mysterious mummy. The bear was a female that was 5.2 feet tall or 1.6 meters. So is this on all fours or on its hind legs? And weighed around 172 pounds. Oh, 78 kilograms. Wow, suggesting it was likely around 2 to 3 years old when it died. It is unclear how the bear perished, but its mummy showed signs of significant spinal injuries that likely contributed to its demise. Wonder if, like, another bear um, maybe broke its back, or caused some issue. You can, especially with mummies, um, with like different species of or different mammoth individuals that have been discovered. Believe even like the wolf pups and the cave lion cubs that were discovered recently. You can identify with a good animal autopsy how the animal died, or at least
Oh,
come up
wait,
with
he
maybe
was found where? Or she?
it's over in eastern Russia.
What's the average size of a brown bear in that area?
Well, if you're leaving out the Jackman brown bears, which are close to size of Kodiak, so pushing over 1,400 pounds, big fat one. The mainland brown bears, they're a lot smaller, not usually going to reach much more than 800 to 900 pounds. That's a fat individual.
So this was a small bear anyway.
Yeah. Well, they're also saying it's a female and she was 2 to 3 years old, but it doesn't also seem like she probably even had much fat on her. So, that's not a surprising weight. The etheric bear was so well preserved that stomach contents were still partly intact, which revealed that the bear had been dining on a mix of unidentified plants and birds, some of whose feathers were still inside the bear's belly. Wow. Um, this is quite interesting. I haven't heard of any of the preserved carnivores found
That
with
looks like a
feathers.
boar.
What?
That looks like a boar.
Oh, yeah, it does. Oh, I mean, yeah, I can see what you're getting at, but yeah, it definitely has that. I usually say, when you're looking at the teeth, you might think it's a bit of a canid or a wolf at a certain point, and then, yeah, it's pretty also distinguishable. This is a ursid or bear skull, and pretty distinguished nose, but wow, this is very well preserved fur. Let's keep going. So that this fits with what we know about living brown bears that are omnivores, meaning they have a mixed diet of plants and animals. So, it was a bit warmer during this time in Earth's history compared to today. I mean, despite it being 3,500 years ago, and many might expect it to have been even cooler because you're getting closer to the Ice Age or the Pleistocene. And no, we were actually going through a bit of a warming phase, like you could say, like different parts of um, like northern Europe as well as like northern Russia, were the climate was a bit similar to what it is now further south in different parts of Russia, Europe.
How'd it get frozen then?
Oh, I don't know, maybe it was a specific winter that occurred during that time, but I'm not entirely sure over in Eastern Russia. So let's see. Um, Researchers also removed the bear's brain after cutting through its skull, which they hope to study in the future. One of the biggest remaining mysteries about the etheric bear is how it ended up on Bolshoi Lavorsky Island. The island is currently separated from the mainland by around 31 miles or 50 kilometers of water. So the most likely explanation is that brown bears moved to the island when it was still connected by sea ice during the last glacial maximum. But if this was the case, then researchers would have expected to find many more brown bear remains on the island, which is a hotspot for paleontological treasures, including mammoth remains. Yeah, this island sounded pretty familiar. I was wondering if if Pleistocene fauna had been discovered. It's a much more recent bear. Ooh, good up front look. Oh, is that it? Oh, okay. Oh well, this was really fascinating to see. So let's head over to the next one. Oh, okay, there we go. So from Earth.com, here's a relaxing buddy. Young red kangaroos grow faster when exposed to dingoes. Hmm. Well, this is interesting. The Dingo Barrier Fence in Australia, the world's longest environmental barrier, 5,614 kilometers long. I'm guessing that's over 2,000 miles. It's immense. Was built as an exclusionary measure to control predation of sheep by dingoes. Surprisingly, though, a new study led by Flinders University has found that young red kangaroos protected from dingoes by this fence take more time to develop than their counterparts on the other side, who quickly outgrow the risks of becoming a prey for the dingoes. Also, another problem that they have is the feral dogs, which are a much bigger threat, the feral cat, especially for younger joeys, and, probably even boars or feral pigs in different regions. So, we also don't know exactly where this is occurring unless, this might be occurring in different parts of Australia with certain populations. There's only somewhere between 40 to 50,000 dingoes within all of Australia, which is about the size of the lower 48 of the United States, the lower 48 states. Um, and, like, in Colorado alone, there's somewhere around, I think pushing 80,000 coyotes. And then, of course, you head over to, like, California, there's, like, somewhere between 700 to 800,000 coyotes, and then, Texas, you have, I think, close to 1,000,000, so, um, I don't think the ding and especially when it comes to red kangaroos, there's somewhere between 30 to 40,000,000 red kangaroos alone within Australia, so they've overpopulated certain regions. Eastern gray kangaroos, somewhere around, I think, 15 to 20,000,000. They're doing okay. The experts also discovered that there are more young and female kangaroos inside the dingo protected fence, suggesting that this fence has significant impacts on different aspects of the red kangaroo's life cycle. Red kangaroos are one of the dingo's favorite prey species, so we were not surprised to find fewer of the smaller females, and younger animals when there are more dingoes around. They must be observing this in a dingo or a higher density dingo area. So, however, we did not expect to see that. On average, young animals inside the fence were lighter and smaller than those outside the fence. Interesting. According to the researchers, the faster growth of red kangaroos outside the fence could be a defensive adaptation for survival against dingoes, which usually prefer to prey on smaller red kangaroos. Yeah, because a larger boss or male kangaroo could probably crush a dingo. Dingoes don't usually get much more than 30 to 35 pounds or a little over 13, 14 kilograms, whereas red kangaroos can push, over 90 kilograms, pushing 200 pounds. Let's see. So they certainly appear to escape the dangerous weight range more quickly than their protected cousins inside the fence. To ensure that the difference in growth rate was not simply related to higher food availability outside the fence, that was actually one of my um, questions or even just theories as to why this would be occurring. It was simply that they had better access to food. The scientists used satellite-based analysis to assess the impact of vegetation cover on these surprising differences. Counterintuitively, we found less vegetation inside than outside the fence in the year of sampling. There might, in fact, have been more food available to the slower growing kangaroos inside the fence, meaning they were really taking their time to grow up. Slower growth inside the fence could have some advantages for the animals. Having to put the whole body's resources into growth, particularly when food is scarce, mean that other areas of the body are compromised. An animal might be in poorer health or have fewer offspring, for example. Um, yeah, true. I mean, that is a big thing. According to Mitchell, another surprising finding was that the dingo-proof fence could affect kangaroo growth patterns in such a short period of time, about 17 kangaroo generations. Um, hmm. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that sounds right. Thus, further research is needed to clarify to what extent the dingo-proof fence affects kangaroos and other species that dingoes prey upon. We need to know if this pattern is repeated over more years and whether it is heritable or just a short-term reaction to exposure to dingoes. We also need to fine-tune our understanding of the vegetation because vegetation cover might not mean that all the vegetation can be eaten by kangaroos. We still don't know where exactly, at least it's not hitting me where this is occurring. The dingo fence is pretty long.
Well,
Um,
17 kangaroo generations. How often does a kangaroo have a child?
yeah, especially with reds, that's just not in me at the moment. So, let's see, is there anything else? Wait, examining how the fence modifies their native wildlife is important. Continuing debate over the efficiency and merits of the dingo-proof fence, not only relative to the dingo itself, but also to the invasive species such as rabbits that the dingo eats. Yeah, they definitely do love munching on the invasive rabbits, foxes within the area, occasionally cats. Some other areas will go after wallabies as well. Great. Okay, so is there anything else? Is that it? Seems that way. Um, yeah, and well, it's a big question too, considering red kangaroos can also delay when they're going to give birth. So, it's a really big question as to just how all this is occurring. So, a bit confused as to what's going on here. Um, so, hope you enjoy this live stream. And for Prehistoric Presents, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guy Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. If you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than